Hello, everyone. I'm Alicia Malone. Welcome to TCM, where tonight we're celebrating the 30th anniversary of Milestone Films, a very special independent film distributor who we've worked with for many, many years. And joining me via the power of the internet are the two Milestone Films co-founders, Dennis Douros and Amy Heller. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Alicia.
Thank you so much for inviting us to be part of this.
Well, it's so nice to have you back on TCM because we had celebrated the 25th anniversary of Milestone Films, and now you've reached another milestone, dare I say it, with your 30 years. So, Amy, when you think back to 1990 in your one-bedroom apartment in New York, starting this company, what stands out for you?
Oh, we were so naive, and I feel like we were so young. We were very idealistic. I guess that we still are, but we had all kinds of ideas about what the company could be like. And I think we were slightly deluded, and that was probably a good thing because it gave us the courage to go ahead. We had just gotten married. We got married in June, and we started the company that summer. So it was a lot of changes all at once. It was pretty interesting.
Well, tonight, to celebrate your 30 years, we have several exciting, interesting, unique films. We're starting with a film about a film, or I should say it's a film about film, the short film by Samuel Beckett. It's a documentary called Not Film, directed by Ross Lippman. Amy, tell us what viewers are going to see in this documentary.
It's an essay about vision, history of film, the meaning of sight, Samuel Beckett, and of course, Buster Keaton. I think it's really delightful, and we were really thrilled to be able to work with Ross to help produce this film.
And Dennis, tell us about Milestone Films' involvement with Not Film, because I'm imagining this is slightly different to some of your other projects in that you were there from the very beginning.
Yeah, this is the only film we ever produced, which is the last time we'll ever do that. It's really hard work. We have two origin stories, and so I'm going to get to tell mine because Ross is not here to tell his. He called me up in 2011 and said, why don't you come and meet Barney Rawson? And the publisher of Grove Press was always a hero of mine, and so I said yes. And so we went to his apartment, and we're starting to talking, and he tells Barney and me that he wants us to work together to distribute film, which he was restoring at that time, Ross was. And I said, okay, because I wanted to work with Barney. And he gave us another film, Strange Victory, which is just as wonderful. And Ross said, it's just 20 minutes, and maybe I have a 40-minute bonus feature I can do for you. And I said, that sounds great. 40 minutes would be just about right. And 4 years later, it's 2 hours and 6 minutes, and it's a feature film in itself. It's the only 128-minute documentary about a 20-minute short film.
Yeah, it's so fascinating because with keeping such a narrow focus about the making of this short film, Ross is able to spin out the movie in so many different unexpected directions.
Well, he really sees that this film shoot was like a nexus of so many different worlds coming together. The world of silent cinema, the world of Russian cinematography, the world of European intellectual history, pioneering publishing, all happened to be in New York City at one moment. So Ross kind of like jumps right into that pool and then just like swims in all directions. And I think he did a beautiful job.
Exactly. He says at the very beginning of Not Film that he doesn't like movies about movies, but this documentary has so much joy about it. And it also has some really unique treats for film lovers. We will see our TCM friends, Kevin Brownlow and Leonard Moulton talking in the film. We'll also get to hear some very rare audio of Samuel Beckett talking. Dennis, what else are viewers in for, especially people who may be fans of Buster Keaton?
One thing is the last interview of Barney Rawson and Billy Whitelaw. And they are Billy is just amazing in this film. And for Buster, it's really an overview of his career. I mean, in this documentary about everything, it's a really brilliant essay about why Buster Keaton is so wonderful.
Well, let's watch from 2015, directed by Ross Lippman. This is Not Film. Back with me now are the two founders of Milestone Films and the producers of Not Film, Dennis Doris and Amy Heller. So I kind of agree with what Kevin Brownlow says in Not Film, that once you hear the explanation of film by Samuel Beckett, then it makes sense. But until then, I can't quite understand it. Although I will say that the explanation of it makes my appreciation of film so much more. It's grown in size. So, Dennis, I'm wondering, after producing Not Film, did your own experience with film change?
The funny thing is, I've always loved film. I mean, it has a mixed history, but I've always found it to be a great synthesis of what Beckett was viewing about life and perception, and also a wonderful performance by Buster Keaton having fun with dogs and cats. So I always really loved the film, but I've seen it now maybe 100 more times than I had before, and I still like it.
What about you, Amy?
For me, film is kind of baffling, but baffling in the way a dream is. So it's kind of powerful in the way that a dream is too. It doesn't seem entirely logical and it's confusing, but the images are really powerful and they kind of stay with you. You know, sometimes you wake up from a dream and you're like, what was that?
Yeah.
But then it haunts you the whole day. And also, I have to say, some of the paranoia locked in the little room seems a little bit like surrealistic kind of imagery, rather pertinent at the moment. So I think it has like taken on another aspect as we're all living in these little boxes too. So I find it kind of compelling in many ways.
One thing I found so interesting in watching Not Film was how Ross Lippman, the director, shows the kind of the paradox with, Samuel Beckett having such an aversion to cameras himself. He didn't like being filmed, he didn't like being photographed, but at the same time, he had such a fascination with film and with cinema. So, Dennis, what did you find really interesting in terms of what Ross Lippman was able to put together in Not Film?
Really, Ross's achievement was a full investigation of Beckett's ideas on life, on death, on existential dread, while making it a really entertaining film. I mean, that's one of the things that really surprised me. I mean, this was a 7-year process to finish this film, and by the time we got to see the first rough cut, it's like, what have we gotten ourselves into? And it was like, wow, it's really a good film. And he achieved exactly what he wanted to do from the very beginning.
We're celebrating the 30 years of Milestone Films. So, Dennis, when it comes to the kind of rewards that you both have experienced over the years, what sticks out in your mind?
The films have been a joy to work with, but mostly it's been the people. Charles Burnett is the best known one, but working with Jan Chapman and Jane Campion 30 years ago on her first feature film, working with UCLA and BFI and I are wonderful, but it's the people there that has really been a joy for us.
Yeah, well, congratulations to you both. And thank you so much for talking to us about Not Film.
Thank you so much.
And coming up after the break on TCM, Dennis will be back with me to celebrate a really interesting compilation film called Archival Screening Night. Stay with us.